com/Annie. You can watch the live webcam there. I said we'd take phone calls when you came back, and Jay, thanks for calling the show. Go ahead with your question.
Hello, am I on?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. Well, my question is basically to the politician that's there, the state rep, and maybe
Nick?
If the governor is in any trouble or whatever happens, I mean, everyone deserves a second chance. And it's a two-part question. Who's to stop the president from giving him a pardon? Is that possible? And if that's so, could he possibly have some empathy for guys that are on child support, that's paid up for child support or low-level assaults? Open the door for pardons for those type of people in that way. That was my question.
Thanks, Jay.
That is a difficult question. As a Catholic, as a Christian, I do understand people need second chances, and all these other allegations aside, the stuff that happened with him cheating on his wife, I do not accept that. That's something that him and his wife have claimed that they've gotten past, so I respect the ability to do that. And this is not a court of law, so this is quite a bit different dealing with these options that we have at the special session. Could Trump pardon him? I would think so. I don't think Trump's going to do that, though. That question is probably better for after the special session.
Wait and see if there's something to pardon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you guys did get something done earlier this week with this medical marijuana bill. Tell us, marijuana, especially to listeners of 97.1, not all of them. Some of them are experts, and they call and they tell me that they're experts because I am not an expert on marijuana.
There's plenty of quote-unquote experts on the House floor, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, okay.
At least they think they are.
So tell us what was passed. What is it? What does that mean, and what does it not mean?
Okay, so there were actually two cannabis-related bills that the supermajority Republicans passed this week. One's dealing with medical marijuana, one's dealing with industrial hemp. And I spent a lot of time last night trying to educate somebody on industrial hemp because he thinks that if you smoke it, you're going to get high. So we can get to that later. But House Bill 1554, I was actually the first Republican co-sponsor on that bill. It's been around for a number of years, but this would get us in line if the Senate passes it. Get us in line would be the 30th state to do it. It would allow for the smokeless medical marijuana patients such as Alzheimer's patients, cancer, PTSD, other debilitating diseases.
Epilepsy.
Epilepsy, HIV, ALS, Crohn's, Parkinson's, to have access to medical marijuana. So this is not the edibles that you're thinking of in Colorado. This is not somebody smoking and driving on the street smoking. This is this is one step further than what we already have as far as the pill form. So researchers estimate that this could bring at least $5 million annually to the state of Missouri. And this also allows the Health and Senior Services, this is probably the most controversial part of it, allowing these bureaucrats to actually expand the conditions based upon medical evidence.
Yeah. That is not, this is, like you said, not somebody smoking a joint going down 64 on their way from point A to point B. Is this a step in the direction for just completely legalization of marijuana, or is that not a fair assessment? Because I think some people are not willing to give the inch that might make sense for fear of giving the mile.
Well, I said earlier how I've surveyed my district, going door to door, sending out surveys, and this was medical marijuana and legalization were two of the topics that for the past 2 years I've surveyed on. And while my district and many districts in the state of Missouri are massively in favor of medical marijuana, it is not the same for legalization of marijuana. And I think people looking at what's happened in Denver and other places where there's still some issues to be ironed out, I don't think we're there yet. So yes, it could be a step toward that direction, but it's, I would say, 10 to 15 years in the future if we're going to go that route. But keep in mind, this is getting us in line with what Trump wanted too. Trump came out saying that he wanted the right to try legislation passed in many of these states. When medicines aren't helping somebody, when there's nothing else to do, these terminally ill patients and patients with debilitating diseases now have an option.
Yeah.
An option which has been shown to work in other states.
I have a family friend who's suffering from stage 4 cancer and has medical marijuana, and it's the thing that helps.
Yeah.
It really is the thing that puts her in a place where she can kind of just wake up and exist and not be in a constant state of pain.
Well, I think with the younger Republicans, we are going down a track to kind of clear up this confusion. A lot of people think that Republicans this the cannabis diaries or whatever it was that we just hate, these options. But, we were the ones that stood up and talked about how the veterans are actually benefiting from medical cannabis and medical marijuana because of the PTSD. When they are given all these types of medications that are putting them on a road to suicidal tendencies. And I think it's 22 veterans a day are committing suicide. This is a step in the right direction. We're at least giving them the option to try this.
So the form with which this is dispensed, if it gets in the hands of somebody who the prescription isn't for, what can that person do with it? Can they get the same high that they would get if they were smoking a joint just the way they would probably be doing now anyway?
Yeah, they would probably still get the same. Well, not smoking, and I don't know too much about this. I'm not an expert. They would still get some sort of reaction to it, like the other person would, like the person with the prescription. But if it's in the hands of somebody who shouldn't have it, I mean, there are laws on the books right now that we haven't repealed that would still go into effect if they're caught with it.
So if it's prescribed and somebody has access to it, and somebody who isn't supposed to have access to it is in possession of it, it's not like it's no big deal.
No. Yeah. The criminal laws will still be right in line with their behavior.
All right. Do you have a position on the full legalization or politically?
Well, before I got into office, I was very much open to it. I went on different leadership conferences to Colorado, and I looked at the different options that are out there. I heard from people on both sides of the aisle, and I know one of the biggest issues are with the edibles and how they can resemble candies, and they've gotten in the hands of children. And also that when put in these edibles and put in these other forms, the THC content is so high. And there was one scientist, I kind of broke it down. He said, this isn't your mom and dad's weed from Hollywood or from Woodstock.
The Mississippi River Festival?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
They said that, I asked somebody in Colorado, I said, break it down for me with one gummy. What is that similar to? If Cheech and Chong were here, would it be one joint, 10 joints? And he said, well, one gummy could be equivalent to 4 or 5 joints. He was telling me stories of people taking 5 and 6 gummies, falling asleep at the wheel, getting in wrecks. So those are issues that we still have to iron out. And I'm not a big regulation guy. I'm not a big government guy whatsoever, but that's an area where we're going to have to kind of step in and figure out what's the best way to keep Missourians safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick. Yeah, Jason.
I know our time's limited, but you kind of referenced earlier, was it Paul's bill, I guess the hemp?
Yep, the industrial hemp. It is finally going to the governor's desk, and Paul and I, because that's another bill that I co-sponsored.
Paul Kurtman.
Yep, Paul Kurtman, and he is actually termed out, so I'm sad to see him leave. Hopefully he's going to win his election, but that's one that's going to be a massive boost for our economy. That is totally different than marijuana, that is industrial hemp, which our founding documents have been written on. But it's not the best bill because it still gives the Department of Agriculture certain power to dole out licenses, so it's not as free as we wanted it, but that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Nick B. Schroer on Twitter at Nick B. Schroer.
If you can spell that.
Schroer.
No, not you.
I'm reading it, and I pulled it up to make sure I got it right. It's Schroer. Yep. That's how you say it.
Or you can just go to my website, Nick4Rep, all spelled out, and you'll have access to all my social media stuff.
And I'm going to point out, he is a fellow millennial, just like I am. So we're not all bad. Everybody
We're
back
not all
off.
progressive, tide-eating liberals.
Yes. He did say he brought some Tide Pods.
Yeah, in case we get hungry.
Thank you to Arrowhead Building Supply for the hat and for the Donald Trump bobblehead. I love it, and I'm going to display them proudly. Thanks for coming in.
Hey,
we're going to do this again.
Thank you.
That's great.